Happy Valentine's Day! It just so happened my weekly podcast landed on this day. Personally, not a big fan of Valentine's Day. It's kind of weird to me to, one, only show or express love on this day, and two, it's named after a Roman saint who's also known to be a saint of epilepsy and beekeepers. So I don't really get it.
Hey there! Are you a Christian woman who's ready to strengthen your faith and stop the madness in your mind? The worry, doubt, anxiety. Do you want something more for your life but are not sure where to even begin? You've come to the right place. Hi, I'm Kristin Campbell. I'm excited that you're here as we journey together to discover mindset renewal and empowered faith for the Christian woman.
I just wanted to say happy Valentine's Day, and since many of us, especially those living in America, are being flooded with all this stuff, I thought it would be a good time to go over some facts about feelings. I know, it may be a stretch, but let's just go with it because I have some really helpful information to share, and I hope that your perspective and your approach to dealing with your feelings changes for the better after listening. The first fact about feelings is feelings are not facts. It's a little bit of a tongue twister. The first fact about feelings is feelings are not facts. So what are they? Because they feel very factual, right? Feelings are merely signals. Feelings have no morality to them. They alone are not good or bad, right or wrong, valid, not valid. They just are signals firing off from different parts of our brain. Now, I'm going to use a car analogy throughout today's podcast because it fits so well. So I want you to think of feelings as your check engine light. When feelings arise, when the check engine light comes on, it's simply saying something needs attention. And it's not always something bad. Sometimes it's even a false alarm. But it's definitely something that we would be wise to give attention to. Now, I had a friend years ago whose truck's dashboard was lit up like nothing I have ever seen. This truck was so noisy and so shaking. I mean, it was terrifying. And I can remember one day we're driving and I'm sitting right in the front seat and I'm yelling over, "When are you going to get this fixed?" And he just turned up the radio and said, "What's the problem? I don't hear anything." Not good, friends. Not wise. Not a long-term solution. Yet we all have done it. Maybe not with our actual cars, but certainly with our feelings. And it's one of the parts of this positive vibes only movement that just makes me cringe. Just turning up the feel-good songs in your life doesn't address the issue. Now, my theory, based on just my own experience, is that feelings scare us sometimes. They appear so powerful and threatening. They're intimidating. And we give them attributes that they don't actually possess. Like feelings themselves have no power. They're signals, remember? What we choose to do in response to those signals, that holds the power. And we talked last week about choice. It's not the signals determining the outcome, it's our choices. And when we recognize that, along with understanding that these signals are actually gifts, okay? They are part of God's design to help us and support us. Now, I've talked about this in an August podcast that I did on emotions, where I talked about how God himself has feelings. I mean, scriptures tells us that he felt anger, sorrow, longing, joy, and many more emotions. Psalm 139 tells us that he knit us together. He created our innermost being. that includes our feelings. That includes the signals. These signals have purpose and they're designed for our good. So when we can recognize that, one, they are just signals, and two, they are actually gifts with a design and a purpose, then we can remove that fear that we assigned to them, and we can begin to make choices that allow the feelings to do their intended job, to call our attention to an area that needs it. Even if we don't, quote unquote, understand the feelings that are showing up. Look, when my check engine light goes off, I don't always understand why. Sometimes it's obvious. Sometimes you can hear the rattling or you can feel the car shaking or struggling. And it's the same with life. So it may be obvious what caused the anger or the grief or the confusion, but it might not be. You might be going about your life just fine and then boom. And see, when that happens, the temptation is to shove it aside because it doesn't make sense. Or maybe it violates an unspoken code that you live by. And these sound like, well, I shouldn't feel that way. I can't believe I even felt that. Or maybe you shove it aside because, again, you're labeling the feeling as right, wrong, good, bad, valid, not valid. But here's the thing. The feeling did come up. The signal light went off. So one of two things is happening. The first possibility is that something unseen does need your attention. And now you have choice. You can choose to ignore it and hope it doesn't cause more damage down the road. You can make this choice both with cars and life. Or you can consult the user's manual and maybe you choose to take it to the mechanic to get checked out. Your goal is to fix it. Now, spiritually, that's going to be the Word of God, user manual. And who's our mechanic? The Lord. So you can choose to ignore or you can choose to fix. You can choose to take the feeling to God and begin asking, what is He trying to show you? What's maybe out of alignment that we can't see? What's internally not working as it should? And allow Him to show you and also fix the underlying problem. Now, the second possibility is that there is no underlying problem, but there is faulty wiring that is giving wrong messages to the control center to signal there's a problem. So this would be when we are holding limiting beliefs, or we have false perceptions either of ourselves or of a situation. So those things will alarm our control center, our brains, to signal there's a problem. Now, your choices in how to handle this are the same as the first possibility. You can choose to ignore it and hope no further damage happens, which, for the record, I do not recommend. Or you can get the wiring fixed. Ask the Lord to bring to light those false beliefs, those negative thought patterns, those distorted perceptions, so you can begin to reconstruct them to be in alignment with what God says about you and the situation. This is the renewing of your mind that Romans 12:2 speaks of. It's something we all need to go through. And the good news, you don't have to go through it alone. I highly encourage you to get support, especially if you've been running with the check engine light on for a long time. If you can't shove that feeling down or aside any longer, there are people to help you, whether in your church, your family, a therapist, a life coach. Having support goes a long way. You might have a blind spot. Actually, we all have blind spots. So another pair of eyes can really help in the healing process. Remember, feelings are not facts. Feelings are not to be feared. Feelings are gifts from God. Open them wisely. Be blessed, my friends.
Thank you for listening to today's podcast. I hope you walked away a little stronger in your faith and freer in your mind. You are so loved. If you like this episode, share it with a friend. Leave your ratings and reviews, and engage with me on social media. I'd love to hear from you.